Ready to go when you are, Chair.
Okay. Right, good evening everyone. Please can I welcome you to this Winchester City Council meeting of the West of Waterlooville Forum. The time is 6 p.m, Monday the 24th of November 2025. My name is Councillor Neil Cutler, Chairperson of the Forum. This meeting is being held virtually and is being live streamed from the Council's YouTube channel, and the recording will also be available after the meeting. First of all, can I ask everyone present in this virtual meeting that your microphones remain muted and your cameras turned off while you are not addressing the meeting, as this will reduce background noise and avoid unintentional disturbances. Members and officers, where appropriate for each item, please indicate that you wish to speak or raise a hand or raise a point of order or explanation by raising your hand using the hand icon. And I would invite you to speak. I will then invite you to speak at the appropriate time. Each member will be invited to speak in turn, therefore I would encourage all members to keep their contributions as clear and concise as possible. Finally, we have a number of officers present this evening. Please can I ask you to introduce yourselves as you speak. Moving on to the business items on the agenda. Apologies, Claire, do we have any apologies?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, apologies for absence received from Councillor Gwen Robinson from Havant Borough Council and from officers Chris Williams from Granger, David McCarthy from Granger, Steve Weaver, Havant Borough Council, and Rick Smith, Winchester City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Disclosures of interest. Does anybody have any disclosures of interest they wish to declare? No. We'll move on to the minutes of the meeting held on the 19th of June. Are these minutes agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. Are there any matters arising that wouldn't come up in the main agenda of this report? Councillor Reid.
Thank you, Chairman. I've just had a phone call from David Crichton from Newlands, who is having problems getting into Teams again.
All right.
So he will try and he will continue to try and get in, but at this point in time, he's just not able to. Took me 5 goes to get in, so I can understand.
That's very strange that it should be a problem, actually, but yeah, okay. Thanks, Mike. We'll wait and see if he can get in at some stage of this meeting. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. It says in the minutes that we would there would be questions on the D1, D2 bus service. Have we heard anything about those?
No, that's one area that I should have followed up, but I haven't. Steve, did you have anything on that?
I'm afraid not, Chair. No, there's no update from me. No.
Just wondered, does the parish council have any update on the bus service? Mike?
Sorry, yes. No, we haven't, unfortunately.
Okay, well, that's an action to get the details and I'll circulate them to forum members after the meeting. Are there any other matters arising? No, we'll move on to public participation. I don't think we have any members of the public here.
No.
Who have registered to speak? No. So we'll move on to item 6, which is the Granger progress report. Can I hand over to, is it Lee going to do this? Take this? Thank you, Lee.
I am. Yeah, I am. Hi, everybody. Good evening. So you've got the papers to hand. I can either share them or I can just run through them if you've got them in front of you. So it's been an incredibly busy summer, as you can probably see from the report. Lots of things that have been finished, completed, and now open for access to the public. So I'll just run through those, and any questions I can take at the end. So we're currently marketing on land sales. We've got the 2 commercial parcels that are at the very front of the development, which is referred to as M1 and M3. They've been out recently for sale. They're moving into the facilities section. We have fully completed the northern and southern allotments. We've just got some final planting to do and a bit of weed removal, and then they will be ready to then have those discussions with the council about how they're going to be handed over and who will be managing that. I know from David and the rest of the team at the parish council, we've got quite a waiting list of residents that are really keen to get in there and start using the facility, and we're really keen that that starts happening fairly soon as well, because it's already it's already an exciting for our residents to start using that space. So that's the northern and the southern allotments. By the southern allotments, we've opened up a new play area, so that's fully open for the public, and that's fairly new to the new primary school that opened on the 1st of September, which is the Newlands Primary Academy, for those of you that didn't know the name of that new primary school. Town Park Phase B, currently seeking planning approval, anticipate commencing early 2026. With the aim to have some planting done over the winter period. So that's Town Park Phase B, which for those of you that don't know is where we have the skate park and the mugger and a smaller play area for younger children as well. Community Nature Reserve, which forms the western part, down the western side of the development parcel, is planting to be commenced over the winter period. And we got some new footpaths and minor works early next year on that. Phase 6A, which is the local centre, we're in discussion still with the developer on the local centre, and that's progressing well, anticipating that that will be concluded within the coming months, and that will allow the developer to engage with the local authorities regarding their proposed application. Cricket Pavilion, that's well underway as well with regards to the planning process, works commencing in 2026. There are some minor enabling works that are due to commence hopefully before we close out the year, so that should start. We'll have a little bit of movement going on over there as well. Planning, so Blue Star Land, that's got an outline planning application which was submitted to Havant Borough Council and Winchester City Council. Comments on the application were received, but there's just some information that we've got to respond to on comments from Highways. Infrastructure, Phase 5 infrastructure is complete and the road closed for public access, and that is at the request of Hampshire County Council, so that will remain closed for a little while longer yet, probably about another 18 months, and then that will be fully opened up. Phase 4 infrastructure and the southern access junction. So that's due to start also in 2026, and there's ecology and arboricultural surveys that are taking place at the moment, and some prep work. Safe routes to school, that was completed in time for the new school opening. That's a rather lovely piece of wide pathway. That's a really good wide access point for anybody, and that connects up part of the Blore site and the new primary school. That's fully open to the public now as well. General adoption, so agreements have been confirmed and being engrossed. Large portion on the site will have roads to certain adoptable standard within the next 6 to 12 months, just depending on contractor, weather, and that sort of time frame. So those were all updates from Chris. So I will try to answer any questions that crop up at the end, but that's sort of Chris's domain. So if I can't answer today, I'll take away those questions and come straight back to you. I am joined today by Greg Cornish, who's Director of Land at Granger. So he's just recently joined the team, so he might be able to help, but if not, we'll certainly take any comments away and we'll come back to you. So Moving on to my section, which is the community engagement side of the development. As you all know, I still continue to have 4 focus areas, and they have the headings that you can see on the attached paperwork. So the first one is ecology and wildlife conservation. So that continues with the programme that Grainger have been funding with Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust. So we're now in our 2nd year of funding that programme at Beerwood Primary, and what we've done is we're sort of spreading some of that funding across to incorporate activities with the Newlands Academy pupils as well, of which there are only 7 currently, tiny little cohort. And what's been great about that funding is that funding has been able to use to run an insect day for all teaching staff across the whole of the Academy Trust. So that they're all up to speed with where they can find resources and helpful hints and tips to share with young people in the classroom about the importance of ecology and conservation and protecting those wildlife habitats that we've got, not just in Beerwood, but across the community and wider area as well. In the summer, we did some nature walks, we did bug hunts, so getting out and about quite a bit over the summer. We will start working with a contractor that's on site on Proxima Park. They're going to do a couple of volunteering days where they help with tree guard removal, which will be really useful. So that will start in the spring. So that's some social value outcomes linked to ecology and wildlife conservation. Next heading, education and training. As you all know, this is kind of like my area of passion and enthusiasm to get out and sort of encourage young people to come into the construction and housing sector. So we've done lots of work going into schools, delivering workshops. We had our first work experience student with us for a week in June. She came from Oaklands Catholic School, did a brilliant presentation on a micro project that we set her on the Friday. We were part of the iConstruct event, so that was attended by just under, actually, not over, 600 students in the end from 40 schools, and that was over 2 days. And both myself and Chris sat on the judging panel, and also some of our partners were there. So Morgan Sindel were there, Mildred were there, Blanchard Wells were there, along with many of the other local contractors in the Solent region, enthusing and informing young people about different job roles in construction and sharing with them opportunities for apprenticeships, T-levels, training and work experience. I continue to support Crookhorn, Oaklands Catholic School, HSDC, Portsmouth City College and South Hampshire College Group, unlocking those opportunities from the supply chain to come and support me delivering whatever the schools need, really, with regards to education and training. Resident communication, so the Beerwood News goes out. We've just should be there tomorrow morning, so that will be distributed, hand delivered to all the residents as always, and that starts tomorrow, and we'll continue to deliver that into next week. We ran another drop-in surgery. We had a really small number of attendees this time, only 7, but you know, all questions are answered quickly, and you know, we just continue to hold those. Obviously we would like bigger numbers, but that's not always the case in community development work. So the inbox fluctuating at the moment. We have little spikes of ASB, and Havant Borough Council team have been really helpful in liaising with me, because we had a few little issues with graffiti over the summer that they were also seeing in the town. So it's great because we can collaborate and share information across sort of both of our teams, and raise the same. We're seeing the same issues on site. We did have quite a bit of vandalism as well up at the skate park over the summer, but not as much as last year. So getting out and talking to young people, informing them about why it's so important to look after the equipment up there and the wildlife is certainly making a difference, but I think we can still do more. The arts project continues to go really well. The plot lines team, who are working with Evelyn within the council, they produced the first anthology book. It's a really lovely book of writing and poetry that was also hand delivered to residents, and that was a big community engagement piece of work, going out and talking to residents about why they love living in Bearwood, what it means to them, what challenges they face, what things they want to celebrate. And a lot of what was coming up was about the nature and the wildlife around the development, and they like the idea of walking in nature and having it so close on their doorstep. Skills and support. So we've teamed up a couple of times with Citizens Advice, offering support to parents at parents' evenings and referring any of our residents that are going through a challenging time with their finances, or perhaps struggling to maintain tenure if they're a Grainger Trust resident. And we continue to promote adult learning opportunities in the notice boards around the development via the Parish Council and in the Bearwood News. The biggest thing that I've worked on over the last 6 months is getting ready the social value toolkit. So this toolkit will be used with supply chain partners to unlock opportunities from them. So, for example, now every time we contract a service or a product from on the development, I will go out to them, share with them the social value toolkit, and say, what else can you give back to this local community? So would you like to take on an apprentice? Would you like to offer work experience placements? Would you like to come out and do something with a bit more of a legacy attached to it? Which link to some of our ambitions for the area, so that as Grainger pulls away, some of these things can continue to be funded and delivered in the local area. So we're working closely with the Youth Hub in Havant, we're working closely with the local schools and some of the local charities and the library, so that we can kind of be that broker really between our supply chain partners who want to deliver back to the community, and so that it benefits our residents and the wider community themselves. So that's only just begun. I've had some really interesting conversations over the last 4 to 6 weeks, and I will be reporting back to you at the next meeting on how those discussions have evolved and what outcomes we've got in place. Any questions? Sorry if I've whizzed through that too quickly.
No, thank you, Lee. That was good run through, and I'm particularly interested in the social value toolkit and how that can develop. But questions from the forum. Do we have any questions? Yes, Councillor Chamberlain.
Thank you, Chair. Just hopefully a quick one for me. I was reviewing this afternoon the sort of proposed amendments to 106, and if I've read it correctly, and apologies if I haven't, it would have the effect of not necessarily delaying, but certainly loosening some of the occupation rates by which time the multi-use greenway and the kickabout area would need to be implemented by. And obviously one of the things we hear quite frequently from residents is frustration about the provision of amenities and infrastructure within the development. So can I just ask why has that been proposed if there's going to be a potential delay to those facilities coming through, you know, as a proposed amendment to the 106?
Are you talking about the deed of variation too?
Yes, correct. That's been proposed. So I was looking at the number of houses that would need to be occupied, particularly for, say, the kickabout area and the multi-use greenway, and it appears to me, and I'll apologise if I've got this incorrect, that the number of occupancies is increasing before those facilities need to be completed as a result of the proposed amendment. Yeah.
Greg, did you want to come in here, or do you want me to take that back to Chris? Because I don't get involved with the 106 and I don't know. Greg, have you got any answers on that one at the moment? If not, I can get Chris to write something tomorrow.
Hi, yes, thanks, Lee. Good evening, everyone. Greg Cornish here, Director at Grainger. I'd love to give you a bit more detail. I'm kind of 2 weeks into the project, so we'll have to come back to you on that. I'm afraid Chris is the man with the knowledge on the deed of variation, I'm afraid.
Okay, I mean there are several questions about the deed of variation. I mean, I also thought that, and I haven't had a chance to go through it yet, but Rose is here and may have some comment. I mean, the other aspect of it that, you know, as Councillor Chamberlain has pointed out, the frustration of residents about infrastructure, and anything that delays them is probably going to make them more frustrated if the trigger points have reached higher levels of occupation. The other aspect of it that I don't quite understand is why Newlands Parish Council hasn't been added to that 106, because it didn't exist in the previous one, so that land can be transferred directly to the parish council. So Rose, did you have any comment that you might make on that? I know it's difficult as a planning officer rather than the applicant, but you may have some comment.
Thank you, Chair. So my understanding, I haven't gone through with fine tooth comb what the entire proposal is for the deed of variation at this time. But in regard to moving some of the triggers for the informal kickabout area, that sort of thing, those areas are linked to the town park application, which is currently a little bit delayed. We're waiting for additional information for the Kemp, I believe, which was submitted today. So we just need to get that consulted on. Once that's been progressed, hopefully we can then issue that decision and Grainger can start those works as soon as possible. So hopefully those will align. It's probably a little bit more information that I'll ask as part of the application to get those updated triggers and things submitted. I think that's what I've got for the town park things. What was your second question? Sorry.
The second point was about whether the parish council should be added into it, because I thought that was one of the reasons that you know, was a key part of this amendment or this updating.
So for the introducing the parish council, you may remember it was part of the original deed of variation when it first came in. We failed to come to an agreement between Winchester and Havant Borough Council in regard to including the parish council. And I understand that's something to do with how Havant Borough Council is run, because Havant Borough Council don't have parishes within them. So for the time being, we don't have a solution, and we didn't want any delays as part of the second deed of variation, because it was all to do with the delivery of the town park. We've got ongoing discussions in the background about that, so it may be possible that further down the line a third deed of variation can be brought forward that might allow the parish council to be included, but at this point we haven't come to an agreement as yet.
And once again, if there are any residents who want to be make any comments on this, they will be directed, according to the Winchester website, entirely to Denmead Parish Denmead ward councillors, not to the Southwark and Wickham ones. Given that the vast majority of this is in Southwark and Wickham, could you change it on the website, please?
Yeah, bear with me, councillor, and I can do that in the next couple of minutes for you.
Thanks. Councillor Reid. Your question, please.
Thank you. Yeah, the deed of variation is important because the town park is split in half. Half is in Denmead and half is in Winchester, and the other half is in Havant. And it's something that even when I was the chair of the forum, we were talking about how we can overcome this particular situation. So the deed of variation is very important, and it's actually important at this point in time, not later on during the day when a totally different agreement may be made with Havant Borough Council, which may not turn out right, shall we say. So yeah, it is an important factor.
I know that David is pushing really hard on this, Councillor Crichton. Yeah, and we speak to him every week really about it. But as I said, I've not been involved in the actual writing of the deed of variation. Obviously on the community engagement side, I can see the frustration, so I'm pushing as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that that's one of the things you hear as part of your residents' engagement is the frustration around. Yeah. And you know, I would raise yet again, but it doesn't seem to be. It seems to have been relatively ignored by Grainger. Is on the village centre. we do need engagement with residents to a greater extent than has happened up till now. It's quite clear that there was engagement in 2019. That's irrelevant now. It's taken so much time to get to this point, and the way it's phrased in here is that the discussions with the developer who presumably are the people that Grainger have chosen to develop that site.
Well, there's no contract in place with them at the moment. But
do you see my point? Is that this is happening prior to any consultation with residents about what should be there. I know there was a master plan, or there was a outline planning, and there are certain elements to that village centre which no doubt some of which may be obsolete at this stage, and it really is important that we actually get built what's needed rather than what was thought about 15 years ago. To me that's key to developing this village centre. I don't want to slow it down in any shape or form, but I think it's pretty important that we there is some engagement there about what should be there, what people need, and sort of what variations there may need to be on the basic. And we still don't have any clarity on the health side of things, which is also a concern.
I've heard that the discussions have started again, which is really positive and promising. But I don't know how far they've got. Those discussions take place at head office in London. I've not sat in on any of those meetings with the potential developer. I know that no contract has been signed at the moment. The knowledge that I have is that there will be a local centre which includes the community centre, 4 retail units, a nursery, and then obviously, as you're alluding to, the health centre as well, and extra care on that parcel. But yeah, I've not seen any drawings, and I'm keen to get this pushed through.
Yeah, I see. I don't
as much as everybody else.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good message to the residents that this is all being decided by Grainger head office up in London in discussions with a developer rather than any consultation. And I think that's the impression being given. Yeah. Just let's have a bit of communication here on this approach. Any other questions on the report? Do we have any? I see no other hands.
No more hands, Chair.
No more hands showing at the moment. Well, thank you, Lee. And I'm not giving you a hard time on this, but
no,
it is.
You're not giving me a hard time. You're asking me the questions I expect to be asked, so it's fine. I might not always have the answers, but yes, I do appreciate residents' frustrations and yourselves. So I'm going to take that back and feed that back to head office.
Thank you, and thank you for all your work on the community side of things, the engagement side of things. It seems to have been a really good list of achievements through the summer. So well done on that, and thanks for coming to this meeting to present. It's much appreciated.
My pleasure.
Okay, let's move on to the next item, which is the update on the leisure centre, and that is, let me get to my agenda. So Mr. Lyons is going to speak on that one.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak about the Waterlooville development this evening. So just a little bit of a background. We regularly see quite alarming statistics around physical inactivity throughout the country, and the impacts that this has on the health of local people, but also the associated strain on the NHS too. So working in partnership with Havant Borough Council, but also Winchester as well, we've put together what we termed as a vision for Waterlooville Leisure Centre. And the reason for doing that was to enhance the facilities so that it made them fit for the future, but also to tackle this issue around poor health locally. and that was targeting everybody in the community, children, families, people from specific targeted groups, or those that we feel are less engaged. So this project was born, 2.7 million project, and it incorporated some changes that would bring greater variety in terms of the programming. So paddle courts, paddle's one of the fastest growing sports. I'm sure that most of you are aware of that. But enhancements to the health and fitness facilities, changing rooms, hospitality area. And overall, the aim was to contribute to the wider aspirations of the borough, but also because of the inter-boundary relationship, there's the obvious impacts and benefits to Winchester as well, and the wards within Winchester. From previous discussions around the project, there was also consultation that took place with local people about what would be the preferred type of activity that would go into the project, and the gym enhancements were a high priority, as were paddle courts, etc. So we've got to the point now where we have appointed a project manager. We're starting to work through the designs and how we would phase the projects, and you can see the associated dates in the short brief that accompanied this presentation by myself. We're going to get some initial concept designs, and ideally we will then be able to start to tackle the inactivity issues by reaching out to the community, engaging more people in regular participation in physical activity. But in addition to this, there's a recognition that physical activity isn't just something that needs to be delivered within the confines of a leisure centre. So Horizon are really passionate and committed about getting out into the community as well, and delivering activities in open spaces and community venues for those people where transport may be a barrier, or there are other barriers to participation. And I think the aim is to erode these barriers and make facilities accessible for local people. One of the big things around Horizon being a genuine charity, working in partnership with Havant Borough Council and obviously Winchester as well. We want to provide high value facilities, so we operate a community discount card as well. So for people that and families, especially at this time, that are experiencing the pressures under the cost of living, families on lower incomes, we're going to offer a provision where at the moment we offer up to 40% discount for people. So these facilities, the aim of the facilities is to be inclusive, to engage people that wouldn't previously have participated in regular activity, and to try to tackle some of these concerning statistics in the future. So I'm open to questions. So if anybody's got any questions, happy to try my best to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Do we have any questions? See no hands raised at the moment. I mean, what are the aspects about the SIL funding from Winchester that I think we discussed it some time ago, and I know this is probably not something that you directly have control over, but one of the things we were very keen to see was relatively easy access to the Horizon Leisure Centre from the development. And at the moment, people will have to either walk or drive out onto the Hambledon Road and come round to you, because there is no access from the development into Brambles Business Park. And I just wondered if there had been any progress. I think Councillor Harrison may have some update on that, but sort of again, I suppose it's part of the broader healthy living. If people are going to drive around to you when they could walk, if there was a gap through the fence, it would be quite a positive thing. So Councillor Harrison, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd love to tell you I have some positive news. It's a case of I keep chasing on this one, and I actually sent yet another chase email over the weekend about this particular matter, and have stressed that the SIL funding from Winchester is for Horizon is dependent on this footpath happening.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever made it that explicit, but it was to improve the accessibility element of things, which is pretty important if we were funding it. So thanks for that, Antonio, and anything I can do to help push that forward, let me know. Rose, comment.
Thank you, Chair. Just to follow up on that, the money for the Bramble South Link footpath has been paid to Hampshire City County Council. I understand that they are currently asking for additional funds to help put that in place as part of the Blue Star Land application. So it could be that they're waiting to get that additional funding secured before they put it in place. But it might be worth having a discussion with Hampshire County Council, and I can certainly ask them to send you an update.
Yeah, I mean, that was the path that was always should be there from the south, but then from the northern end, there is an opportunity, and I think that's the one that Councillor Harrison's talking about. There is an opportunity to make an inroad, make an access through that side, that actually the leisure centre end of Brambles Farm. So that would be really helpful if we had two, it would be even better. Steve, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of observations from me, really. In addition to my kind of my role at the council supporting the forum and other things like this, I also lead our work on sport and leisure and also on our SIL. So I've got kind of lots of interest and lots of angles into this particular one. So I suppose it was firstly just to say, Michael, really good to see and hear how strongly paddle's coming through in the proposals, because that's actually coming through really strongly in terms of sort of a district wide for us in terms of a need and a growth area. So that's really good, and that's really good to hear that. And I suppose the other thing is really just a note around, you'll probably be aware of all of the work or all of the move towards local government reorganisation. So just looking at the timescales in your sort of update, just kind of hopefully everything keeps moving along towards that 2027 delivery date. If things start slipping, please do just kind of be in touch with us and let us know where you're at with things, because we're very keen to get projects such as this one sort of all done and delivered before we move into a new world of unitary authority. So yeah, just a sort of I suppose a note really that if the timescales, if for any reason the timescales start slipping a little bit, please do let us know, just so we can work with you to make sure that we keep on top of all that.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we've just had a project meeting actually, and I am really pressing, especially if we can save some time on the project timeline and delivery. But anything that sits outside of that, I'll keep this group updated. In terms of paddle, yeah, you were absolutely right. I think it's a great opportunity to develop a new sport in the area. Lots of demand, but from that grassroots level all the way through, some coaching for local children, families would be great. And in terms of the pathways, the access, we're very receptive. I know it's not probably the thing that sits directly within the programme, but if there's a link within that time scale, Chair, we're more than receptive to work with Hampshire County Council or whoever that might be to make these things happen.
Yeah, Hampshire County Council are the responsible authority for the southern access. For the northern access, there is an element of there is a pathway in Proxima Park. It's just the Havant Borough Council land that would be required to just get through to the road, I think, is the key point, and would make it easier. A completely and you may think entirely spurious question, but it's always struck me that the boundary against the main road, against the Hambledon Road, is the most overgrown bit of boundary anywhere along that road. Where is that any responsibility of yours, or is that entirely Hampshire County Council? All the all the screening effectively for the leisure centre from the main road.
I'll need to check on the lease demise of the premises, but and I'm not sure during the project if that area will be tidied up, because it does provide a certain degree of cover for the facility, as you mentioned. But I will take a note to check the boundary situation on that.
Yeah, I'm amazed that Hampshire County Council have done nothing about that from a highways perspective, simply because it's really grown out there. I know it was trimmed recently because of the cable laying, but
yeah, I suspect
even
it
then
would
it's
be the
very
council.
close.
Yeah, I suspect it is the council, as I haven't seen that on our sort of plans for the grounds, etc. But I can check that, because once again, if it's majorly overgrown, it's the visibility of the facility as well, isn't it? That's affected. But yeah, I'll take that as a notes check.
Okay, are there any questions? Any other questions? Well, it's really appreciated you coming along and updating us. You know, I think it's an important project for residents, both, you know, sort of on the west of Waterlooville, the whole Newlands area, but also, and you know, for Denmead in particular, but and some of the wider parts of the Southwark and Wickham ward as well. So thank you for that, and thank you for your work you're doing on that. Much appreciated.
Thank you all, and we'll keep you updated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll move to agenda item 8 now, which is the update on the Waterlooville town centre regeneration. I think Laura and Stuart, yeah, you're there. So thank you. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Evening all. Stuart Palmer, Borough Council. I'm the regeneration manager here. I'm joined by my colleague Laura Jones. I'm sure most of you have probably seen us either on here or elsewhere before. We're really just coming back to update you on progress against these Waterlooville regeneration works that have been going on over the last couple of years. Do you want to go to the next slide? I thought it'd be good just to start with highlighting the quick wins that are identified through that extensive engagement work we did. And I'm pleased to feed back that we've actioned all of them now. They're not all complete, but we've actioned all of them. So I'll just give a quick update on what they were. So the first one was street art, and Laura's going to give you an update on that in a moment. The other one was to do with street furniture, and we've got a project running looking at the public realm improvements, and we'll give you an update on that in a moment. Enhancing the aesthetic look of the town centre. There's been quite a few things going on, but the real big ones have been, you know, the public realm improvements that are coming through. We've also done cleaning, art, and provided funding to new businesses, which has all helped improve that aesthetic. Establishing a community garden, that's kind of linked to the public realm improvements now, and we had a conversation about that today. If you went to the Waterlooville community meetings, we did actually go out and ask for volunteers to help pull that together. So we've got a list of people that are really keen to get involved. So we'll run that project once we know what's required to maintain those new public realm improvements we're putting in place. Okay, a digital platform as well. We've not set up a digital platform. We did explore it, so we explored opportunities for bids. If you're familiar with those, that's a business improvement district, but it wasn't viable. And there's already quite an extensive number of Facebook pages and groups that already exist, either for Waterlooville or for regeneration in Waterlooville and various others. So there wasn't a sort of a need at this time for that. Meanwhile, uses, vacant shops, there's a few things that have happened there. We've obviously been given out business grants so new shops can open. We've also set up a pop-up shop, and we've also been liaising with landowners and business owners about not just the aesthetic, but how we can activate spaces. The next one was to do with pop-up markets, craft fairs and festivals. So we've fed back before, but we have been encouraging and supporting events where possible, and you'll get an update on that in a moment. We did also explore, actually it's quite important because I know markets was sort of a key thing. We've explored with our peers at various other councils, our current market operator and others externally about bringing different types of market into Waterlooville, but it's been quite challenging, unfortunately. We're still working on it and we'll continue to push that door, but unfortunately at this stage no one's been too receptive in wanting to take up the offer. And the last one was establishing a sort of placemaking or community board. We've set up the Waterlooville, or supported the establishment of Waterlooville Business Association Group, and they've been actively taking on projects and running things in the town centre, and hopefully will continue to going forward. And the last one was set up a pop-up shop to help businesses get established on the high street, which we've also done, and there's quite a good news story on that one. So I'll stop there and pass on to Laura, and I'll pick up at the end for the planning update.
Hi, so I'm Laura Jones, Regeneration Officer in Stuart's team. So I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail into some of those quick wins that we have delivered. So I'm hoping that some of you will have noticed the street art that has appeared in the Waterlooville Town Centre over the summer. So when I think we last came and spoke to you, we were at very much consultation stage, trying to get permissions to use certain walls in the town centre, looking at where would be the best place to go, looking at the connectivity and how they're going to be seen. So when we went out and did some consultation, we did face-to-face consultation in the high street. We launched an online Go Vocal platform so people could vote online after. And nature, fine art and stencil came out as the top three really, in terms of the art that we wanted, or the people wanted to see. So we've worked really hard with Art Up CIC. They are based in Portsmouth and delivered the Look Up Portsmouth over the last couple of years. And they've been really good to work with in terms of they've already got the bank of artists to use. Lots of them are local. They're really good at placing the art in the set locations that work. So I wanted to share the three pieces that are up already. So this one is on the side of the old Curzon's Rooms car park, so right in the middle of the town centre. They used an artist called Andy Council for this one. So I appreciate that my picture is very small, but I encourage you all to go and have a look at it. But the horse is actually made up of bits of Waterlooville. So you've got the precinct that goes down to Waterlooville Library. The Battle of Waterloo is in the horse's mane. You've got a nod to the old Heroes building, some of the transport links. It's a really lovely piece. It's been created specifically for the town centre, and the regional content that engages people in conversation when they look at it. So that was the first one. The second one, so this wall is opposite Waterlooville Boxing Club. The reason for this location is we know it has busy foot traffic as people walk from the retail park into the town centre. Again, we've really thought about the connectivity of this one and being on a really busy bus route. Again, nature, stencil, and it's quite bold and eye-catching. And the third location was this wall. So we're capturing people using the Wellington Way car park, parking there and walking into Wellington Way. So another bit of connectivity and another entrance that people use to come into the town centre. This one is a Portsmouth-based artist, which I'm sure lots of people will recognise. But again, the good thing about using Art Up CIC is they really thought about what artists they were placing next to established businesses that were already there too, to make sure that they look right in the town centre. And then the fourth one, which is due in the spring, we're currently at funding agreement, licensing agreement terms in getting this stairwell to the right cleanliness that it needs to be to paint it, and at the moment it's not. So we're currently talking to Hampshire about that. We hope to get that one painted in the spring, but that will be the final location for Waterlooville. So that was the street that's been really positively received as well. We stood up in the community meeting a couple of weeks ago. Lots of people really like what we've done, and it adds that colour and the aesthetic look as part of the quick wins that Stuart mentioned earlier. Stuart mentioned the pop-up shop as well. So the pop-up shop in Wellington Way we've had for a year now, so we're just coming to the end of this project. The idea of it was that we gave opportunities to small businesses, people who wanted to test the market, people who wanted to test giving retail on the high street a try. And it was really interesting to see who applied for it, because we had a real mix of people using it for different reasons. Vintage trainers were the first people who went in there as a retail concept. It looked great. He did really well over the last Christmas, like 3 months over last Christmas, he was the first one to go in. Loft Robe were the second tenant to go in, and again used it for a different concept. So instead of using it for a retail store, they offered demonstrations of a new product. They wanted to test the market. It was a bit of soft market testing for them. They got lots of feedback. They made lots of appointments to go out to people's houses. So again, it was really nice for them to be in the town centre. And the final lady, Marie, at Reby Sense, has been in there since, well, for the last 3 months, and hers is just about to come to an end. But it's really lovely because Marie is going to stay in that unit and take the unit on herself. So it's a really good roundup of the pop-up shop. It's enabled Marie to see if she could run the shop in the town centre, see if it works for her, and it does. So it's a really lovely end to the pop-up shop project. I feel like I'm talking really fast. The Waterlooville Business Association, Stuart mentioned as well. So the Waterlooville Business Association, we helped facilitate the startup of that. And it's been going for a year now. So they meet regularly once a month. There's 49 members in it currently. They're all businesses directly in the town centre. And what it's created is something that used to exist a while ago, but lots of the businesses are now communicating with each other. It's a really lovely group to share advice, shoplifting issues, plan events and things together, but actually it's got everybody talking, and I think the communication between all of them now is really good. It didn't exist before. They launched Waterlooville in Bloom again this year as a group. The winners were Sunkist Tanning, Wellington Way, so they will build on that, do that again next year, but they're just starting to bring back things that used to exist, which is really good to see. And they've also worked as a group to establish their own Love Waterlooville branding. So you'll start to see this in the town centre as they start to do their own events and bits and pieces as well. They're also helping with, and it's really good to see everybody coming together to do something in the town centre like Christmas. So that group of businesses will do an elf hunt in the windows. They're going to work with the Waterlooville community events team with the switch on and the market. So we're installing the tree and lights in the town centre again this year, and the Waterlooville community events team have purchased the motifs, but we install those. So the Christmas light switch on is this Thursday, and there's also a Christmas market on the Saturday as well. So it's a real collaborative thing of us purchasing the lights, but also the events team putting the events on and all the businesses joining in too. It just brings everybody together, which is good. There's something else I've put in here that wasn't in the quick wins that we spoke to the community about in our last residents meeting, because again, it's a really good example of lots of people collaboratively working together to tackle some of the issues we've currently got in the town centre. So there was a Waterlooville Police Facebook post a couple of months ago about some ASB issues. Some of the children going up onto the back of the British Heart Foundation, climbing up on the roof, walking all the way along the top and then coming down behind Premier. And kind of they're ruining some of the aircon units up there, causing quite a bit of damage. So we've been working really well collaboratively with Waterlooville Police, the town centre businesses, because they're there daily, Y Services and the key landowners to try and tackle some of those issues. We have also installed some new, so we have some CCTV in the town centre already, but we've also installed some new full colour CCTV, and the picture on this is amazing. So the work that our prevention and enforcement team do at Havant Borough Council is brilliant, and we get asked almost daily for certain bits of CCTV in the town centre. So again, that collaborative work where we can assist Waterlooville Police with footage and stuff that they need to tackle some of those issues is great. And finally, sorry, is the public realm improvements. So last time we came and spoke to you, we were very much at consultation, putting some design options together stage, and we shared those with you at the time. We've now had some good conversations with Hampshire County Council. We've done many surveys to look at drainage, utilities, trees, and we're at final design stage now. So our final designs and costings have been sent over to Hampshire for approval. We're now at the stage where Hampshire are putting together costings and a funding agreement, and we should get that back in the next couple of weeks. And once we've got that back, we'll be able to move forward. But at the moment, we're very much at final design approval stage and getting those costings together. That was one of the technical drawings. Again, I appreciate very small and probably won't be able to see those on this screen. But that was some of the greenery options that were in some of the final drawings. I think that was it for my bit. I'll hand back to you, Stuart, to do the last bit.
Yeah, just on that last one as well, it says final design. We're not quite final design yet. It's known as pre-design in the designing world. But regarding pulling together what the public said they wanted to see, that bit's been finalised. It's now a case of working with our engineers, Hampshire's engineers, to cost it out precisely and work out a work programme. And there'll be other design elements as they work through. After they've done the surveys and things will pop up and they'll need to work through that. But it's progressing. Okay, Waterlooville master plan update. Now I probably won't do this as good a justice as my planning. Oh, sorry. I probably won't do this justice as well as my planning colleagues, but I'll talk through it anyway, just to give an update on where it's at. So we've talked to you for a long time now about the master plan and the consultation, and a lot of you have been involved in that consultation process. So on this slide, it's Waterlooville master plan, but that piece of work largely was wrapped up quite a while ago. It's now at the SPD stage, supplementary planning document. We've talked about that before as well. And if you jump onto the next slide, it goes through for a decision. It's all been formalised and finished now, and it goes through for a cabinet full council decision next month about whether it's adopted or not. And then we'll have a Waterlooville master plan as an SPD that's been adopted as well. So that will help with the area's planning framework. And it also feed into the local plan that went out to consultation at the same time. And it really sends the right signals out to people about this. You know, if you bring forward a development that fits with this, it's likely to be approved. It fits in, you know, it can be used as a piece of evidence towards people's applications, and it gives the market a bit of certainty around what we're looking to achieve. It is a longer outlook for the town centre, and it's likely to be achieved through piecemeal developments as we move forward. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background, and we're trying to move all the pieces that we can, but these things can take time. But yeah, it's a good bit of work. It's something that the council could control and we've implemented. So that's it. I'm happy to take any questions. I'm sure there's a few. We've sort of whistled through this. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. That's a really good summary and run through of what seemed to be a huge amount of work and a huge amount achieved in a fairly short space of time. So questions, Councillor Reid. Michael?
Yes.
Are you there? You are
I'm
there.
here. I'm here. It's just that my mouse isn't. Just a quickie. It's what's happening in Waterlooville town centre is absolutely fabulous. How honest do you feel that this is achievable within the time space left because of the reorganisation of local government?
I see this as outliving the LGR. No, this piece of work will continue. It will help with LGR as well. When LGR comes about, we'll be a bigger authority. It'll be an adopted supplementary planning document. That plan will still stay. It won't change anything. If anything, it helps be clear about our intentions now. The level of engagement that we've had from people speaks volumes to people making decisions about where they target funds as a wider authority as well. So I think it's it's more useful now in light of LGR than it may have been before.
I keep my fingers crossed.
Well, yeah.
Antonia, Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. In response to Councillor Reid's question, regeneration of Waterlooville, Lee Park and Havant and parts of Hayling are top priorities for this administration. We really believe in it and we really support it. So there you are. Now, just going back to the presentation, you saw the Love Waterlooville logo, and all being well, there are some tote bags that have been made with that logo on, which are being filled with vouchers and goodies from the WBA members, which will be distributed at the Christmas events, limited edition. So look out for them. And there's also Wellington the Bear. You saw him in one of the photos, but I don't think Laura actually talked about him. He is the new mascot of Waterlooville. He has his own Facebook page. He also has a PA. The idea is that he goes around the various shops and services like hairdressers. He's already been to one of the hairdressers. He had some highlights put in, and he poured a pint or two at one of the pubs. So that's the sort of thing he gets up to. And the idea is that we build recognition of him and people look out for him, and the retailers build some, a bit of a buzz around him. So the kids start looking out for him, and there'll be games around him and all that sort of fun and activity. So the Laura and Stuart are doing a great job as with the rest of the team, and working with WBA. It's all happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments that anybody, or any questions that anyone's got around this? I think when we talk, sorry, Stuart, yeah, go on.
If there aren't any other questions, I'm just going to shamelessly plug to shop local this Christmas if you can. That's it from me.
Fair enough. I mean, I think your point about LGR is that it is crucial to get certain things in place before it happens, and I think your master plan is that key element, isn't it? Is having the SPD in with the local plan, and that gives some long-term vision of the whole place. And I think that's one of the key things that will not get lost in LGR. There is a document there, that process is in place, and so I think that's a really important aspect of it. But yeah, I think it's astonishing the progress that has been made over the last couple of years, given that it's been talked about for many a year, and I think the progress over the last 2 or 3 years has been really good. If there are no other comments, nothing that anyone wishes to raise, then I'd like to thank you both for coming along and for giving us, and sharing your enthusiasm again, because I think that's part of the reason that things have developed so quickly is the degree of enthusiasm for those involved with the project. So well done. Okay, thanks very much. I'll move on now to the item 9, which is the open space update. Now, unfortunately, Rick, who was due to come to give that update, has had childcare, sick children, and been unable to come. I think Steve is going to give a summary of what Rick may have put forward, but I did notice that there is a bit of confusion on some of the dates in his draft report. So I'll leave it to you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I will try and portray the information as best I can, but I don't understand it in the way that Rick does. So it may well, and once that's happened, I'll, if there are any questions, if I can answer them, I will, but if not, I'll take them away. It would also be helpful, hopefully, some of what I'm going to share, and there's not a huge amount of it, but hopefully it will also ring a chord and align with the views of David and Mike from the parish council, because obviously a lot of the conversation has been a sort of combined discussion. So hopefully this will align with their understanding of the situation as well. So I will just I wasn't planning to read every single detail here out, Chair, particularly given that I don't understand all the background context, but I'll summarise it as best I can. So just by way of a bit of a background, starting with the open space land that currently sits in the ownership of the City Council that we took transfer of some time ago. So we did some work over the last 12 months, employing some landscape contractors to undertake some maintenance work and try and keep and get that land back how it should be in a decent state. So we did a lot of cut and collect of the grassland, removing litter, debris, tidying up the area, cutting back some shrub planting, keeping the footpaths clear, removal of some tree supports and shrub trims no longer needed, quite a bit of work on the Suds Pond, clearing out where vegetation was encroaching and keeping the inlets and outlets clear, and some repairs to some of the fencing, and a bit of weeding. So we had a significant bit of work done last year, and then in the meantime we've also been looking at the play area. Obviously that the play area got damaged and needed refurbishing, replacing. There's been some tree works needed doing, and grass cutting of the internal greens sort of within the wider area. So there's that sort of maintenance that's been ongoing, to try and keep things as they should be while we're resolving the issue around getting the land transferred to the parish council. Now, my understanding, based on what Rick tells me, or what Rick's reporting, is that the conversations with the parish council have been continuing, been going well. The parish council have now agreed, and there may still be some sort of conditions and terms to work through, but to take a transfer of the open space that the city council currently has. And there's been some meetings involving officers from the council with the parish council to discuss what needs to be done to get to the point where we're all happy and the parish council are happy with the land ready to take over. So there's some work that's been done, having contractors do some more work, looking at a list of what exactly needs to be done, and that's I think the most recent. I don't know whether that is a piece of work that we're still waiting to hear back from the parish council, I guess, or whether that's come through now. But that's conversation which is ongoing, moving towards getting to a point where we're all agreed what needs to be done. So that's my understanding. In terms of there is still the underlying issue around the unresolved section 104, which is what's delayed it this long, and the impact that has on Hampshire County Council and adoption of the highway. But that is sort of an underlying issue that is still to be resolved. I'm not quite sure how that gets progressed, and I think we will need Rick to provide any further insight unless David and the parish council know more on that one. And then the second piece is around the Bearwood land that's currently with Granger, and Rick's sort of update is reporting that from our perspective as Winchester City Council, we're recommending to Granger that the land should end up with the parish council rather than us. So we're not looking to take that land on, although I think that's still sat with Granger, and we're waiting to hear from Granger how they intend to proceed with that. So that's the latest that Rick's reporting, or that Rick's updated on that. I think it's well known that the section 106, and it was touched on earlier, that the section 106 requires it to be either Winchester or Havant. And I think despite efforts, I think, as was mentioned earlier, we haven't managed to reach a sort of an agreement on how to involve the parish council legally in that. So as things stand, we're currently in a position where the land would have to go to either Winchester or Havant. Although if it came to us, I think we would then happily pass that on to the parish council. So I think Rick and the team are still in communication with Granger to try and work that through and get to the point where we know and understand how that's going to work. That is pretty much the update that I had from Rick, which was a verbal update, but certainly it's unfortunate he was unable to be here tonight, but I think we'll certainly ask him, we can ask him to make sure he comes and provide maybe some slides or something next time, Chair, so that we've got some a little bit more material for members of the forum to see and have a read of before the meeting.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
David, did you want to add anything to that? You have your hand raised, so.
Yes, Chairman, can you hear me?
Yeah.
That's fine. First of all, apologies for late arrival. That involved reinstalling Teams, which I apparently had an out-of-date version of. So I finally managed to get with you. We had a very successful meeting with the officers last week, the clerk, our operations manager, and our consultant, and myself. And as you have said, Steve, we are preparing a list of snagging items, a final one, which Councillor Berry is putting together for us, which we will send. There may be a slight delay because there are one or two other things we need to do, but those items are the ones which we've agreed will be completed by Winchester by next June, with the intention of transferring the land over to us within a couple of months afterwards. As far as the Granger side is concerned, you're correct. We have discussed the possibility of a brief deed of variation to add the parish council in as a party to the 106. As there are two deeds of variation still in progress, including one which has been on the go for a couple of years, I'm not entirely hopeful that that can be done, but that, if it was possible, would of course allow the land to come directly to the parish rather than through the intermediate path of passing to Winchester City Council first of all. Other than that, we're quite happy with the progress. And I just might mention at this point, whilst Councillor Harrison and others are present, we are still trying to get Havant to take on the open space within their part of Wellington Park. And I have actually, I think, now detailed all the issues there. What some of you may not be aware of is that the implementation manager for Taylor Wimpey, who we were told was leaving, but in fact isn't, helpfully, has contracted people to come and repair all the block paving within Wellington Park and the areas, and various other things. So they are doing a lot of preparation. As far as the 104 agreement is concerned, my understanding is that the one sticking point at the moment is that Southern Water have indicated that after 15 years of using the pump station down by the recycling centre, they now need a bigger turning circle for it as a condition for signing the 104. I'm afraid it's a little bit like the old joke about the Irish question. Southern Water do keep changing the question, but that I understand is one of the issues that's outstanding, and I don't want to take the time of the meeting, but it's something we can discuss offline as to whether we can find a solution for that. So that hopefully will cover the situation with Wellington Park. Now, as you'll be aware, and I'm sorry I missed the early part of the meeting, the cultivation plots, the allotments should be ready in the spring. At the moment, because of the absence of our involvement in the 106, those would go initially to Winchester and then pass to us, but we were assured by the solicitor at the meeting we held last week that that could be done very quickly. So that is also going to be something that we should be in a position to take on next year as well.
Oh, thank you for that, David. Yeah, that was referred to in the update from Granger, and the other element that was referred to earlier was that the reason that Newlands hadn't been added into, or there hadn't been agreement, was that I haven't found that difficult to agree at the moment. But I think we need to keep pushing on, trying to find a way of adding Newlands into the agreement, just purely to, again, given the circumstances with LGR, we need to get these things resolved fairly quickly, and transferring it twice, once to Winchester, then on to Newlands, is just an additional legal job that we could do without, quite frankly. Councillor Reid.
Thank you. Yes, the snagging list that David spoke of is 21 pages of A4. So it's quite a comprehensive list, which probably does need to be whittled down to what is urgently important and what isn't. But nonetheless, it is still quite a large document produced by Councillor Berry. So as long as members are aware of that, And again, the requirement, as you just said, for Newlands to be added to the list is important. Having dealt with it in Denmead itself all those years ago, it's important that you get that flow, which we're not doing at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. David, do you want to come back?
Yes, just very briefly, Chairman. The list that Councillor refers to was a comprehensive list of everything that Councillor Berry and Councillor Bennett have discovered, but that included items which relate to the highways, footpaths, lampposts and things which are not the responsibility of the City Council, but will be the responsibility of Taylor Wimpey, and also areas which are within the Havant part, which also don't involve the City Council, which is why we've asked Councillor Berry to extract those points which specifically refer to Winchester, and you'll be pleased to know it's a lot less than 21 pages. There's still a fair number to do, but I've asked them to separate out so we can pass the problems on to the relevant authority.
Thank you for that, David. Are there any other questions on the Open Spaces report? Okay, we move on to the final agenda item, which is, I've lost it now. It is the Newlands Parish Council report. David, would you like to?
We've done that already.
Well, I think a huge amount of it is in there. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, Chairman, if I might, there is still one outstanding item which may or may not have been referred to earlier as far as the open space in Wellington Park is concerned, and that, as has been reported at previous meetings, is the land that lies between the Old Park Farm stream and Angus and Radnor Way to the north. And the reason for that is that Taylor Wimpey discovered rather late in the day that they had planted trees over the sewage easements. Now, unfortunately, the person from Taylor Wimpey was dealing with it had left, and that hadn't been passed on to the remaining team. So I am liaising with the implementation officer at the moment to try and get that resolved. Once that's been done, that land can then be transferred to Winchester. It's the only bit that's being retained by Taylor Wimpey, obviously, at the moment. But the good news is that once that's been done, there should be no further work required, and therefore by the time it reaches Winchester, it should be able to be transferred with the rest of the open space in the timescale that we discussed previously. So that should tidy that up. There are one or two other things Councillor Harrison may have mentioned earlier on, that we're still waiting for a meeting with Havant as far as the proposed footpath through from Brambles Farm is concerned. And again, I'd like to see whether we can move that on with, to misquote John Donne, has put to his coy mistress, which one of you may know, time's winged chariot is drawing near as far as reorganisation is concerned, and we'd like to get that out of the way if we can.
Yeah, we raised that as part of the Leisure Centre update, and we have gone into the detail on that, which I think you missed. Yeah.
Okay, well, the only thing that I've got to add, and maybe I'll take questions if anybody has afterwards, but you'll notice the very last item in my report relates to the Sickle Way situation, which has been dragging on, as many of you know, for some time. My thanks to Rose Chapman for the answer I got from her earlier today. We do understand that the issue is that there is a planning requirement, justified or not, which we need to try and resolve, in the sense that as things stand, there is a requirement to close Sickle Way based on a Section 38 agreement. The irony is that had Fire and Rescue been consulted 20 years ago, when the planning applications were first put in, that provision would not have been put in because they would have objected to it. So we have a situation now where Fire and Rescue have made it absolutely clear that they will not allow the closure of the road on health and safety grounds. But at the moment, the planning requirement is that it is, and therefore I need the assistance of the planners to find some solution to this, which will allow us to reverse the decision that was made originally, because there is really no other reason for it other than the fact that it was agreed years ago. So if I might leave it at the moment and ask for, as I say, assistance from the planning departments, particularly from Havant, as the area is actually within the Havant part of Sickle Way, but as this is a joint, it was a joint planning decision, I asked for help from both sides. So, I'll leave it at the moment, but we do need to find a solution to it which will satisfy all parties. And I might say,
was there ever any rationale for closing it?
No, it was simply Rose may be able to clarify this because she's had a look. There are references in one of the planning documents, but it's simply a plan which shows an indication that Sickle Way was to be closed after the first 100 houses were built. And that, of course, is something that happened about 12 years ago. So it's something that's dragged on and on. It's a historical thing which we are told cannot be changed because it was agreed. So we need to find a solution which will change the legal basis for this. Whether that involves raising a deed of variation, I don't know. The question is who can do it and who will do it. If that requires Taylor Wimpey to take action and they don't, we have an impasse which is going to be very difficult to resolve.
Yeah, and do we have any indication? Hampshire Highways are basically taking the view that this is a legal requirement, therefore they're going to do it, yes. And they're not being constructive. I just wonder if any county councillors here might take up the cause. Otherwise, I think we'd probably collectively, as district and county councillors, I mean, if we can't make progress on this, ought to write to Hampshire County Council and say, you know, this is madness. How can we resolve it?
Can I just indicate that the response I had from Rose, again, thank you, did point out that we would need to justify it. Well, the answer to that is that Fire and Rescue, and in the shape of the local fire inspector, have made it clear that they will provide any written documentation and argument that is required for this, because this is a position which they are quite firm on. And yes, it may be necessary to raise it to the Director of Universal Services, as we did with the Ladybridge roundabout issue. I hope it doesn't come to that. If there is any other way of doing it, fair enough. And we have a little bit of time because obviously the roads have not yet been adopted. The adoption of the main spine road, Darnell Road, is the point at which the closure would be implemented. But I think it would be useful to get, again, because we're running out of time on this, it would be useful to get this resolved as quickly as possible.
Thank you, David. Councillor Reid, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I sat as a member of the planning committee in Winchester when this application came through, and never at any time was it drawn to our attention that this road was going to be closed. It doesn't make sense. So I'm not quite sure where it came from, but I can't remember it in the original documentation for planning.
Okay, that's useful to know. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Chair. Simply to say that Councillor Anne Briggs is here representing County. Don't know if she can help us.
Councillor Briggs, have you got anything you'd like to add on this?
I don't think she's online any longer, Chair.
Clearly not, anyway.
Chairman, sorry to interrupt, but can I just say that when I sounded out opinion, Councillor Briggs, Councillor Stallard, Councillor Baines also, who has a small stake in the development and is also a former retained fireman, as well as all of the district councillors from both the Havant ward and the Winchester ward and the parish council were opposed to closure. So and that I put on record to the highways department, who came back and said basically it didn't make any difference. So at the moment we just have a situation where the answer is no, whatever the question is. And that's why we need to find some way, possibly of an amendment to the planning requirement, unless, as has been suggested, we can get the agreement of the officers at the top of the organisation to agree that the matter should be expunged rather than treated any other way.
Okay, thank you, David. Councillor Briggs.
Thank you. I'm afraid my computer's playing up, so I can't go on camera. I've worked quite closely with David over this problem. I'd had Nick Adams-King, when he was leader for highways, down to look at it. And I will try again with Lulu Bowerman, who's also got to come down again to look at the retail park. And I was going to say to you earlier, just couldn't unmute, that any problems connected to Hampshire, if you'd like to send me over the details, I'll do what I can. But I think Sickle Way is extremely concerning because it could be loss of life. And I think that's what we've got to put through, whether it could be loss of life through ambulance service or fire. So I will try again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your, thank you for your help. Yeah, thank you. Okay, are there any other questions on the Parish Council report? I'll move on to the final item there, which is any other business. Has anybody got any business they wish to raise? Councillor Langford-Smith.
Thank you. Yes, just going back to the Waterlooville Leisure Centre, it would be very helpful to have some details of the discounts that are available and what criteria there are, so that we could promote that to residents. That would be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, I will make sure that we note that in the minutes and pass it on to the Leisure Centre. That's for Denmead or for the broader area?
Just for anybody. I mean, obviously, if they're offering a 40% discount, there will be criteria attached to that. So it would be helpful if we would know what they are. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Paula. Anything else that anyone wishes to raise? Well, thank you all for attending. I think we've received quite a lot of information in this meeting. It hasn't been as contentious as it is sometimes, but I think and I'd like to thank those officers and members from Granger who've attended, and thank you all for coming along. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you,
Declare
Chair.
the meeting closed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.